So here's the thing about Mako from The Legend of Korra. Nobody likes him. I don't think many people outwardly dislike him as a person, but it's safe to say that his character doesn't have many fans. And listen, I get it, he wasn't my favorite either, but I do think that he actually grew on me a great deal as the show went on, and the writers were able to develop his character into a valued member of the team that I thoroughly enjoyed, cared for, and was eager to see on the screen. Seriously, we cannot understate Mako's importance in the story, nor his dedication to preserving balance and aiding Korra in all her efforts. It's extremely commendable. In terms of a backstory, I think Mako's is actually rather strong, and sets up his character and much of his personality in a very evident way. As I'm sure many of you remember, Mako and Bolin both lost their parents at a very young age, pushing them out onto the street for a very long period of time. And since Mako was the older child, he felt responsible for Bolin's safety and happiness, ultimately attempting to take their parents' place as his caregiver before he was even a teenager. But it's important to remember that he was just a kid too. He deserved and needed a childhood as much as Bolin did, but essentially sacrificed it entirely to ensure that Bolin could continue to live his, even if they did have to struggle out on the street. His childhood effectively ended the day his parents were killed, and this is an incredibly generous move on his part, and brave to boot. And I think more people should consider the sacrifices that he made to help Bolin live a good life before trashing his character entirely, because he is responsible for the two of them not only surviving, but growing into kind and well-rounded people. I mean, this is what causes Mako to develop into the person that we meet when Korra first ventures into Republic City. He doesn't really allow himself to have any fun, time to relax. He takes everything extremely seriously, and he doesn't really waste time with pleasantries or social niceties because he's always been too focused on simply providing a roof over Bolin's head and making sure the two of them are set up for the future, or even have a future, and pro-bending is his best chance. He's very overprotective of Bolin, having experienced major loss once before with his parents. Thus, he clings on tight, not really wanting Bolin to venture out onto on his own, or pursue his often wacky ideas for fear that he might lose him just as he's lost everything else. I mean, Mako straight up says that his parents were cut down right in front of him. I mean, I know it's like, kids show terms because it's Avatar on Nickelodeon, but still, he viscerally endured that trauma of watching his parents be murdered and knows how violently painful it can be to see it happen firsthand. I think this part of his character is really understated because of his stoicism, but Mako really is still that mourning child at this point. That boy that still feels the pain of his parents passing and is completely unwilling to take any chance that might cause him to lose the family that he has left. His brother, whom he loves with all of his heart. So when we meet him in the first season, he doesn't exactly make the best impression with Korra at first. He believes his brother is simply naively messing around with an unimportant fling, some random girl, trying to steer him away from Korra to avoid seeing him get hurt. Even after he learns that she's the Avatar, he is kind of reluctant to let her on the pro-bending team and attempts to keep her at a distance, as well as assert that Bolin keeps his distance while they all became closer as a team. He's really worried that Bolin will end up being hurt emotionally by this relationship, showing that protectiveness that developed from his childhood, as I mentioned earlier. But we really get a strong sense of how precautionary Mako is during the revelation, after Bolin is captured by the Equalists. He literally does not sleep, does not eat, until he and Korra are able to locate Bolin. He only naps a bit by accident and is pretty much hell-bent on finding him the entire time. He cannot live without him. But once they all know each other as friends, bonding over the conflict with the Equalists and pro-bending, he becomes much warmer, proving that he is capable of acting a lot lighter. He's just standoffish at first. And things quickly become complicated as their lives become intertwined, with him dating Asami and also developing feelings for Korra. Now, I do think that the whole love triangle business hurts a lot of people's perception of this character. It's hard to separate him from this complicated situation, especially with how he acts toward Korra and Asami near the end of this book. But while I do think Mako handled this situation poorly, we do get a lot of indication that he's not exactly aware of what he's doing. He slowly becomes more protective over Korra as she's put in more danger, revealing his hidden feelings more so than when they were simply casual friends. If you listen to his recap of it, in Remembrances, though, it really helps you understand this period. He is not manipulating these women, he just didn't realize the gravity of his feelings for Korra until she was kidnapped by Amon, even though he still cared for Asami as well. He's a stupid, horny teenage boy who also had no sort of guidance or experience with intimacy past his early childhood. Let's just say I'm not shocked he struggled to choose between them, and I don't think you should view him too negatively for this whole debacle. I mean, it's pretty much just a mess of feelings. You know, I don't think anybody's really particularly in the wrong. Mistakes were made, sure. I mean, a lot of these moments where the love triangle starts to bother people, when Asami is very suspicious and Mako starts to, you know, dote on Korra a little bit more, it's really just a very prevalent part of his personality kind of emerging. As we have discussed before, he is fiercely loyal and watchful over those that he cares for, inadvertently showing affection for Korra during and after her kidnapping in front of Asami. Because of that. And ultimately, he makes extreme leaps of courage for Korra near the end of the book, traveling with her to infiltrate the Equalists, and then even to take on Amon directly. He takes a lot of risks, putting his own bending on the line to protect Korra and what he believes in. And while I do understand why people would really only view this as him going after the girl he's interested in, I do think there's more to it than that. Again, in Remembrances, Mako's recap of his journey with Korra emphasizes how much he believed in her as a person. And at first, they both thought it was a romantic bond, but in the end, even without that, there is a fundamental respect that Mako has for Korra, her sense of justice, and her stellar performance as an Avatar that makes him a uniquely effective member of Team Avatar. Another important aspect of Mako's characterization in Season 1 comes with his bending ability. Ultimately, he is portrayed as a prodigy who never really got to realize his abilities or train properly due to his economic class. I mean, he was trained, but it was on the street by gangs that he was working for. He has a natural talent, though, for firebending, and an enormous amount of power behind his fists. Not only is he quick on his feet due to his time in pro bending, he's additionally able to produce and redirect lightning, which we know takes a gigantic amount of control and firepower. I know many think that lightning bending was just kind of retconned into being easier in Korra because we've seen more people do it or whatever, but realistically, I think the technique for being able to produce lightning became more well-known, and it wasn't just reserved for royalty anymore. That doesn't make it any easier as a skill. It's still something only a select amount of firebenders could do. However, those we see lightning bending, though yes, some of them are just background characters, must be talented benders. It doesn't mean just because they could do it that it's any easier than it was for Zuko. It's not like everybody or every firebender we see is a lightning bender. It's just that it's been released as information, and the most talented of firebenders, or the ones that work the hardest at it, are able to produce it. It doesn't always mean they're going to be a fighter on the front lines. In modern times, there's, again, a lot more people too, so a lot of them just end up working for the city. Moving into Season 2, Mako and Korra begin their romantic relationship as the politics of Republic City become more and more complicated. And it starts to become clear to both of them that they aren't really getting what they need out of this relationship. They bicker quite often, and their personalities are seemingly incompatible for a lot of intimate moments. And then, if that wasn't enough, they're drawn into political warfare. It isn't just the Equalists versus Benders anymore. It's not that simple. There's war profiteers staging propaganda and false flags to promote an all-out war, and it's really unclear what the right path forward is, or who they should ally with. As such, Korra ends up going behind the president's back to use the Navy without his permission, inadvertently putting Mako in the middle when Raiko asks him about Korra's activities. Honestly, while I don't love the decision, I think Mako confessing to the president and going against Korra's wishes is extremely in character for him. He's very principled and has always been a, no offense, bit of a stick in the mud when it comes to illogical or lofty plans, especially with those he cares about. Yes, he used to be out on the streets and working with criminals, but now that he has achieved this good life, again, he is not going to take any risks to jeopardize it. And even though this decision is born out of worry for Korra as well, and I believe was an attempt to protect her, obviously, Korra is not going to see it that way. Also understandable. Causing a disconnect between the two of them, where Korra feels everyone around her is trying to control or manipulate her, and Mako feels that Korra is too impulsive, making their relationship hard to control, something that has always been very important to him. He can't rein Korra in like he could with Bolin, and while I do think Mako needs to work on this, and does learn to be less controlling of others, it does show a disconnect in their personalities that results in this pair not really fundamentally working only romantically. But after the breakup, as he doesn't have much going on with his personal life, he kind of throws all of his effort into his work, desperately trying to figure out what occurred at the Southern Water Tribe Cultural Center, even resorting to using the triple threats in a sting operation to try and catch the real culprits. So determined to protect the city, in fact, that he ends up directly challenging a millionaire capitalist, and in a turn of events everyone could see coming after challenging one of those, he ends up in prison unjustly. You really have to feel for Mako here, as he gets thrown in jail with really no one rallying to his side. I mean, Bolin is there, but his trusted boss doesn't believe him, his girlfriend, Asami, I guess, doesn't come to see him, and even his brother doesn't really take his side, doesn't believe that he's innocent, though Bolin still is promising to hire him a lawyer, so my thing is Bolin believes he's a criminal and doesn't care, which is more interesting, and I'd love to explore that later, but that's a different video. Until he's vindicated, though, he is completely alone, and believes that he has lost everything, and that no one even cares for him. I mean, I give him major props for not blaming Bolin at all, and fully accepting his apology. I mean, he was the one who got him out of prison, technically, but Mako holding no ill will toward him at all for not believing his innocence shows what a patient and understanding guy Mako can be, though particularly toward Bolin. He'll forgive his brother nearly everything. It's why Bolin feels comfortable to do wacky things like acquire and then insist that they both take care of Pabu. Mako will fight initially, but Bolin just gotta give him the cute, slightly sad look, and then it's over for that softie. Now, even I have to admit that him beginning a romance with Asami immediately after breaking up with Korra is just messy. Ultimate fumble. What are you even doing here, sir? You need time to work on yourself. Evidenced by the fact that when Korra returns and doesn't remember their fight, he can't even bear to tell her the truth, effectively destroying his romantic relationship with Asami and her trust in him yet again. In his defense, just playing devil's advocate here, this situation happens in front of like literally everyone they know. This is so impossibly awkward and coincidental. How would you even decide what to do here? Break up with the Avatar right then and there? Not exactly a fun outcome either. Then Korra gets dumped in front of a crowd. Who wants that? Honestly, I do think that him waiting until after the conflict had resolved to inform Korra of the truth and truly work through their relationship issues in private with a personal conversation was a smart decision. Even if maybe he should have come clean right away, it is better not to lie, obviously. It does allow Korra, though, to have a more clear head for the task at hand, and he does immediately bring up the topic once the conflict has fully resolved, and he knows Korra is able to emotionally handle it. Plus, I admire how easily he's able to put this aside and aid Korra as best he can in the fight. I mean, whatever their relationship status, it's always evident that he cares immensely about her. And just like I credited Korra with the responsibility to recognize that these two don't work together, I must give Mako that credit as well. He tells her the truth and agrees that they have to romantically part ways, helping them both end on good terms, which is a great sign for them moving forward. And Mako never makes a move on this girl ever again. It is platonic from here on out. No hints, no little moments, nothing. So, in Book 3, with all the relationship drama behind them, Mako really gets developed into a much more fun and amiable member of Team Avatar. His presence in the series is kinda retooled a bit, nothing that constitutes a rewrite or change in his personality, but more a sort of different perspective on it. In the beginning, however, he's a bit reluctant to fully rejoin the team. Honestly, I believe that he's still a little hurt by their leaving him in prison and not coming to his aid or speaking on his behalf, as well as, you know, the relationship stuff kind of clouding his judgment. But it really takes Bolin, someone whom Mako's faith in can't really be shattered, telling him that they actually need him to convince him to come back, to try and be a part of the group again, instead of allowing himself to drift away as he had been doing for the little bit of time in between seasons 2 and 3. But over the course of the season, he once again learns how to be friends with the other members of the team, how much he cares about them, how important their work is, and in general, how much he loves them. And we, in turn, get to know him aside from any sort of romantic encounter. This is really where I started to love Mako's presence in the series. They really play up the whole humorless former cop aspect of his personality and find a comedic place for it on the team, much like they did for Zuko. Mako, though a brooding, extremely attractive man, is flat out so socially awkward. We started out with the perception of him as this cool under pressure suave guy, but that really isn't his personality at all. It never was. He was awkward with Asami at first too, and season 3 does a great job of kind of boosting that part of him up and showing that side of him more. Like, he's actually kind of a nerd, and I mean that in the best way. He's overly focused on work, so much so that he has almost no life and sleeps under his desk. He reads and studies in his spare time. He's almost never in on the joke or ever kidding when he speaks. Like, I love the moment in the stakeout when Asami suggests Ai Wei could have left, but Mako, meticulous and scrupulous as ever, asserts that it's impossible because he has a note in his cute little logbook. He's so proud of it, too. It's just a great use of Mako's traits that have already been established in a more humorous and endearing way, rather than utilizing his character for those sweeping romantic moments that make him seem like some sort of debonair bachelor. Makes him feel more like a member of the team, rather than just part of a pair. You know what I mean? I also enjoyed how they underlined Mako and Bolin's dynamic by bringing Kai into the picture. The way each of them decide to treat him is extremely indicative of their journeys and who they are, how they were raised, with Bolin wholly accepting and wanting to smother Kai with love, perhaps being too forgiving, obviously seeing himself and just wanting him to have a supportive home, and Mako being extremely suspicious of his motives, since he knows exactly how children in Kai's position think. Mako sees a lot of himself and Bolin in Kai, and is determined to ensure that his future is bright, that he doesn't have to struggle all the way into adulthood for support as he did. And because of that, he's rather strict with him, trying to keep him in line, just as he did with his own brother for all those years, but he's a little bit more difficult. However, one of the strongest moments of Mako's arc in this book is when he and Bolin meet their family in Ba Sing Se. This is where we really get to fully explore their backstory in a way the previous seasons didn't really achieve, as they are forced to break the news of their parents' passing to the rest of their family and learn a bit more about their history. And Mako, noticing that this side of his family is really just beginning their mourning of his father, realizes that he has been able to fully process this loss through time and even find a new family for himself in these friends that he has reconnected with. So he gives his grandmother his father's scarf, an object that he was previously very protective over, not willing to relinquish even for a short period of time. This is such a gorgeous moment for Mako's arc, and another that really showed how much compassion Mako has and how much he values his family. Not only that, but how much he's grown since the start of the series, how much closer he has become to Asami and Korra, and even Tenzin, and found a new family for himself, somewhere where he does feel loved, something that he never thought he would feel again. And since a lot of Mako's exterior is guarded and stoic, as I've said, this moment does a lot to show his softer side, the one that was the driving force for his care of Bolin all these years, because like I said, he really is, on the inside, a huge softie. So moving out of this book, Mako has once again grown much closer to the team, again, and has intertwined his life with theirs. They do a great job of showing how Mako's relationships with Korra and Asami have definitely improved, with them frequently embracing and stating how happy they are to see one another and hang out, despite no indications of romance at all. It was really sweet to see, and something that I think was necessary moving forward for the audience's perception of his character, so that in book 4, he really gets a chance to shine outside of the team, and as a character in himself. Mako is once again in a protector role at the start of this book, this time looking after some someone he's not particularly fond of, Prince Wu. But even with how annoying and bratty the prince can be, he still takes his duties, as always, completely seriously. His resolve to protect the future Earth King does not waver, and he even serves as a sort of role model for Wu going forward, helping him blossom into the much better prospective leader that he is by the end of this season, even training him in physical combat. I loved when Mako called out Wu's behavior and ignorance after Kuvira supporters began to kind of pop up all over Ba Sing Se. He's able to snap Wu back to the reality of who he has been and show him that he isn't really fit to be a king as he is now. He needs to work on himself a lot. I'm not going to lie at all, just because I love inserting my own opinion into these things, even though nobody cares. I'm kind of in the boat of people that think Wu and Mako would have made an interesting couple. They have a fun dynamic. I don't know. Maybe making 3/4 of this team Avatar queer would be a bit of a stretch. I mean, even doing one queer couple blew half of America's minds. But like I said, even with this doubt of Prince Wu, it's amazing how steadfast and resolute Mako still is against Kuvira. I really appreciated the conflict between him and Bolin this season, as it really cemented Mako's confidence and assuredness in his own decisions and beliefs. He is fiercely loyal to Korra and the Avatar's mission, believes in it heavily, and also knows a dictator when he sees one. And when his brother is blinded by Kuvira's charm and clever plans, what he wants most is to once again steer him in the right direction, as he always does. But he can be a bit cold, and then he's met with much more resistance from Bolin than usual, as Bolin has been following a different authority figure for quite a long period of time since they've all been separated. So it ends up kind of as a screaming match. However, as we've established, Mako is a very forgiving and understanding person because he's a softie. He wants those connections, those intimate relationships. So when Bolin is able to escape Kuvira's grasp and apologize for his behavior, he immediately accepts him, even encouraging Bolin not to call himself stupid, knowing exactly what he was thinking when he decided to follow Kuvira. Seriously, this is a really great season for Mako's character. He shows not only how much he believes in Korra and how firm he is in his belief of her, but also how much he cares for the people around him. They really fired on all cylinders on season 4. I'm talking about it, maybe it is my favorite season of this show. I don't know. Plus, they continue that really humorous depiction of Mako as this sort of by-the-book, socially awkward guy who doesn't quite know what to say to others. My favorite Mako moment ever is in this season when he tries to radio the citizens of Republic City and encourage them to evacuate, and he chooses to go about it by reading their exact instructions from the city manual, using codes and laws to be exact as possible, and inadvertently causing an entire panic. But when the radio operator actually says that, he's like, I don't understand what could possibly be confusing anyone because these instructions are so specific and perfect. Like, he would be comforted hearing this over the radio, and that says a lot about his personality. He loves doing things exactly by the book, the codes, the laws. He loves following instructions and making sure things go exactly as planned. Because, I mean, it's understandable when your early life is extremely chaotic. But at the end, Mako puts everything on the line, willingly risking his life and his health when he resolves to destroy Kuvira's machine once and for all with lightning bending. I appreciate that while he does know this is a huge risk and possibly a sacrifice, he hasn't resolved to just go out with it. He promises Bolin to try as hard as possible to make it out of there. He cares so much for him, and he really isn't ready to leave him behind yet, necessarily, so he does actually try, though still being thorough enough to wipe out the vines, to exit the room before everything explodes. I mean, it's a small detail, but definitely a welcome one for me that shows Mako's insane resolve and how much he cares to Bolin. He was not lying when he said he would try his best to get out of there. Even with the immense focus and power he's emitting, even with the energy swirling around threatening to hit him wherever he steps, he forces himself to continue moving and continue hitting the vines to get as close as he can to the exit, so he can get back to his brother. And because of that, Bolin is able to just barely grab him and save them both in time. I mean, like, when I say just barely, they fall off the ladder on their way down. If Mako was any further in that room and Bolin actually had to go up, get into the room and grab him, pull him to the ladder, there's no way they would have survived, truly. They really do convey in this final episode extremely well Mako's value in this journey we've taken and as a character. honestly, especially with his final speech to Korra about his loyalty, about his belief in her. It's a really beautiful friendship at this point, and one that developed through a ton of drama, yes, but survived and is stronger for it. Mako is completely dedicated to her and believes in her so strongly that he is always willing to spend his effort, time, and even health to help her protect the world at all costs. I mean, hell, he can't even bend out of his right arm at the end of the series, and for a great while in the comics, though I have yet to read the new one. He does sacrifice and has sacrificed a ton for the people he loves and cares about, romantic or not. And I think stripping away that aspect of romance did wonders for his character to show his true belief in the Avatar and how resolute and powerful he really is as a human being. We need to treat Mako better. He deserves more. That is all. Oh, actually, wait, hold on. If you want to support me further, you can go to patreon.com/PosiTVty. That's PosiTVty. There you get all these videos before they come out on YouTube. You get the unedited essays so you can hear exactly what I meant to say or a bunch of mistakes, which, you know, kind of happened in this one. And you can tell me what you want me to do, and I'll try to do it as fast as I can. So it's a great way to support me, but also get more content for yourself. So go there. But also, being here, that's the chiz. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it a lot. I don't know why I said chiz. I've been watching too much Victorious on repeat. Don't judge me. But I appreciate you guys watching this video at all, subscribing, liking, doing all of that wonderful engagement because it helps the algorithm. The fact that I'm able to do this is a joy. So thank you for that. And I hope you'll join me for whatever the next video is about. Leave a recommendation. I love hearing from y'all. And I hope that you're having a great week, you handsome devils.